So a few weeks ago, I did a video where I chose products that I would repurchase if all of my makeup disappeared. And that was a video that I saw Kelly Gooch do, and I wanted to do my own version. And in that video, I mentioned that she had another tag video that I would be interested in doing, and I asked everyone if you'd like to see it. It's the if I could only keep one tag, and I got a lot of really positive replies. People wanted to see my answers. And the reason I think it's worth doing both is because choosing one product out of each category that I already own is different from having to go out and repurchase these products all over again. Some of the products that I choose today might be discontinued or limited edition, or they're products that are not easily accessible for me. In my video where I was repurchasing everything over again, I was purchasing just from Sephora and Ulta because they were close to me. I could buy things in multiples on the website and get free shipping versus having to go to like individual brand websites and start over. I have done if I could only keep one videos before. This is a tag that Kelly has done for a few years now. So I'll link my past videos and Kelly's as well in the description box. I don't know exactly how different my answers are going to be. I just am assuming that they will be because I have not prepared for this video. I thought it would be more fun to make these decisions in real time. The first category is brow products. I only have 4 brow products total. If I had to only keep one from my entire brow category, I would likely just stick with the Ulta Beauty Brow Pencil and forego the other 3. I do really like the gel. This combo is what I'm wearing in my brows today, and I typically use this brow gel on top of whatever pencil I use. Sometimes I just use it on its own. I like having a regular clear brow gel or something like that to finish my brow look, but it's not a necessity by any means for me. Definitely a brow pencil is more important to me than a gel. And I just finished the one from e.l.f. If I still had that in my collection, I might have chosen that one instead. I just prefer the formula a tiny bit better, but I like the color of this one from Ulta better. This is the shade Taupe. It's just a little bit creamier. I just talked about that in my empties video. This is a creamier formula. I prefer a slightly stiffer formula, but this is really good, and I would have no problem just having this as my main brow product. The next category is eyeliners, and I don't typically have more than like 4 or 5 eyeliners. Sometimes I only have 2 or 3. For some reason, I have a lot of eyeliners right now, at least a lot for me. I do have one nude eyeliner pencil. I use this on my under eyes, like I'm wearing today, just to brighten up my lower lash line. And then I have a bunch of different colored but darker eyeliners that I use on my upper lash line. So I have a black one from Smashbox, I have a gray one from Victoria Beckham, I have a brown one from Kiko Milano, I have a black one from Milk, a black one from Make Beauty, and then a purple one from About Face. On a day-to-day basis, I usually go for brown or gray eyeliners. Sometimes I'll wear black if I really want to make my eyes pop or I want to go for something a little bit more dramatic. I know I wouldn't keep the About Face one. This is a plum color, and I've only worn it once or twice, and it wasn't super impressive. I do really like the Kiko one. This is a brown liner. Somebody recommended this to me in the comments, and I picked it up, and I'm so glad I did. I think this is a really great eyeliner. It's brown, so that's definitely in the running. I like the Milk liner a lot more than I thought I did, but it's not, I don't know if I like it more than the Kiko. The Smashbox one I've only worn once or twice, and I do think it's really good, but I don't like it as much as the Kiko. The Victoria Beckham one, this one might be a little controversial because every time I hear people talk about these liners, they love them. I do really like how creamy these are, but they're almost too creamy. Like, I feel like I have to be so careful when I work with this because they will just smudge and they will keep going and going and going. They're just not as user-friendly for me personally in the way that I wear eyeliner. So even though I do really like that it's a gray, it's like a dark gray, ashy, I don't think that I like it better than the Kiko. I like the Make one. This was a free gift with purchase a while ago, and I ended up loving this a lot more than I ever thought I would, and I wouldn't have even considered trying it if I didn't get it as a free gift with purchase. I was very pleasantly surprised with this. This is the eyeliner I'm wearing today, and it's black, and it says it's waterproof, and I definitely believe that. This is really good at not transferring, just like the Kiko one. I think both of these are really, really great formulas. The nude one I use every day. I've used this over 200 times. I don't use it in the exact same way as I do the other liners, and so part of me wants to keep them separate and say that the nude liner is like a brightening pencil and it can stay in its own category, so I'll keep this and still get to keep an actual eyeliner, and that's what I'm gonna do. So the nude one from Essence is definitely staying. I love this. Now, do I want a black liner or a brown liner? Ideally, I would keep both, but I do want to challenge myself a little bit. The bottom one is the one from Make Beauty. The top one is the one from Kiko. The Kiko is a brown liner, but it's still pretty deep. It's not a light brown. I think I could get away with just keeping the Kiko. That's tough though. I love both of these, but I think I would keep the Kiko because I can make it lighter, I can sheer it out and make it more natural looking. I can build up to make it darker. For eyeshadow primers, I have 3. I have the glitter primer from NYX, the matte eye primer from Ulta Beauty. This is slightly skin toned, but it's relatively sheer. And then I have a tinted Woo Prime Eye from Jason Woo, and this is really light. It's almost like a white cream color. And I really like how pigmented that is because it creates a really nice blank canvas. And I like the glitter primer for glittery shades and for shimmer shades. And so I like having all 3 of these because I can use them for very specific occasions. But the matte eye primer is just my everyday primer. You can see how thin that is. Like, I don't have a lot left in here. And I've used this over 250 times and I still have a lot of product in there. And I can use glitters with it. I can still set it with a lighter eyeshadow powder and still get that sort of blanked out canvas, meaning the Ulta one is going to be the one that I keep. For mascaras, I only have 2 mascaras technically right now. I just purchased the Essence one because I'm almost finished with the Milk one, and I don't actually know if I like this Ulta one yet or not because I haven't opened it. And I wanted to have the Essence one as my backup. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like the Milk one very much. And like I said, I don't know if I actually like the Ulta one or not. I do know that I like the Essence, and so out of these 3, the Essence one is going to win. This one is going to be really hard. It's my eyeshadow palettes. These are all of the eyeshadow palettes that I have. This one from Vive that doesn't fit, and then all the other ones fit in this little box. I have what I would consider to be a really curated eyeshadow palette collection, and so I really value and cherish each of them, but just for different reasons. Some of them have very specific types of formulas, like my Lethal palette is mostly shimmer. It has 1 matte, and it's a blue matte, and so it's not going to be like the most versatile palette. I'm not going to be able to make a lot of complete looks with it, but I do love these shimmers so much. This is like one of my favorite palettes that I own, but it's a companion palette, or it needs a companion. And I adore the Juicy Olive palette, but it's really only one specific color story, and so I wouldn't want to keep this as my only eyeshadow, even though it's one that I really love. And so really, if I want something that has a lot of different finishes and I can create multiple looks from it, I'm gonna choose one of these 2, the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz, and then this custom palette that I made from ColourPop. I had a bunch of their 9-pan palettes and other palettes that had removable pans, and I did a video where I took out all of my ColourPop singles and I kept the shades that I wanted and made my own custom palette. I take this with me traveling a lot. It has a row of lighter mattes, deeper mattes, and then shimmer shades, and it's like the perfect travel palette for me because I can create a ton of different looks. But there are so many beautiful special shades in the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. This is one of my favorites and has been for a very long time. And even though it does skew very cool toned, pinky, there are a few like warm tone browns in here, and these shimmer shades are just so special and beautiful and gorgeous. I don't know if I could part with them. So even though the ColourPop one makes more sense maybe in a practical way, the Huda Beauty one is just so special to me that I would probably keep this. I do have a video where I created 3 looks with this palette, and I created a blue look, a pinky look, and then a warm tone brown look, so there is a little bit of variety. That would be a really difficult, painful decision to make, but Huda Beauty Rose Quartz wins. Single shadows is also going to be a really difficult decision. I have mostly powder singles, and then I do have 2 liquid singles or cream singles. I think I'm going to put them into their own category just because they're so different from the powders. I have a souffle eyeshadow from Surratt in the shade Green Dew. This is like a bronzy taupey shade, and I've only worn this once, so I don't have a lot of experience with the formula, but one that I end up using all the time is this liquid shadow from Jason Woo. It's the Celestial Lust shadow in the shade Jane Doe. It's a beautiful, warm, almost rose gold color, and I end up reaching for this all the time. It's just a really easy one and done eyeshadow. I can put it all over the lid, blend it a little bit into the crease, and it's just a really pretty, sort of like natural gold color. I just feel like the Jason Wu is a lot more versatile for me. Now for the powder shadows, I do have a crushed up matte single from Makeup Geek in a separate container, just because it was easier for me to get the corners if I had it in its own separate container. And I've been wearing this a lot just because I'd like to finish it. It's still one of my favorite shades. I have it in my crease today. It's a matte mid-tone mauve and I just love it. I have so many gorgeous mattes and shimmers. It's hard to choose. I have shadows from Sydney Grace, from Cleona, from ABH, from ColourPop, from Give Me Glow. But when I think about the single shadow that I do reach for all the time, and it's very unique and I am gonna miss it once it's finished, is another Makeup Geek single. This is in the shade Phantom. It's a duochrome, and so it has a purple shift to it. I use this on my inner corner all the time. This is such a beautiful color. I have so much pan on this, I'm just kind of reaching around the corners, but I use such a small brush that it doesn't matter anyway. So yeah, even though that's really difficult, I have so many special, beautiful shadows, I would probably keep Phantom from Makeup Geek. The next set of categories are Chic products, so bronzers, highlighters, and blushes. I'll start with highlighters. I have 3 powder highlighters that are singles, and then I have 5 cream or liquid highlighters. And of course, I'm keeping Spotlight by Charlotte Tilbury. I have a lot of really beautiful cream and liquid highlights, but this is always my favorite. It's what I'm wearing today. I just love it so much. For powder highlighters, this is really hard. I have Rose Quartz and Berlin Girl Glow from Becca, and then I have this Laura Geller Baked Gelato Swirl Illuminator in Peach Glow. And I wear all 3 of these all the time. I like having a smaller highlighter collection with such gorgeous formulas because if I want something cool toned, I can go for Becca Berlin Glow. If I want something peachier, I have one from Laura Geller. And then if I want something more pink or a little bit more natural looking on the cheeks, I can go for Rose Quartz. So these all just work so well. While I'm keeping a more gold highlight in that Charlotte Tilbury Spotlight, and it's almost kind of like a rose gold, but it's definitely more gold. So I think even though this would hurt really bad, I would probably keep Becca Berlin Glow. It's just such a beautiful, natural, slightly cool toned highlighter. It's just so beautiful on the skin. You buff it in and it just looks immaculate. Yeah, this one is just so easy to buff out and make it look really natural and just very creamy on the cheeks, but you can also build it up and make it a little bit more illuminating. So yeah, Becca Berlin Glow wins. Let's do bronzers next. I have 1 liquid bronzer and then 4 powder bronzers. And so if I'm keeping it separate by liquid and powders, like I am for the blushes and highlighters, I can keep the contour one because it's the only one from its category. And then for powder bronzers, I have this duo from Vive, the Fenty Into Sun, Take Home the Bronze from The Balm, and then Becca Berlin Glow. No, Becca Bali Sands. These are all incredibly well-performing bronzers. The undertones are all slightly different. The formulas are a tiny bit different. I think if I were to just choose one though, I would definitely go with Becca Bali Sands. This is the most natural bronzer that I have. The other ones are pretty pigmented and can definitely be built up, and so can the Becca one, but I just feel like this one, especially when I apply it with a big brush, it gives me that warmth without actually changing the color of my foundation. Sometimes bronzers can just be too much for me. It's so funny because I used to wear bronzer all the time and I used to wear a lot of it, and now I use so little. So Becca definitely fits the type of bronzer that I like nowadays. I do really like this Vive one though, and I like that it has a cooler and then a warmer undertone, and you would get more product than you would this one, but I just think for day to day, this has some sort of glow to it. It's more satin, and this just looks so natural and beautiful. So I'm gonna keep the Becca one. I'm keeping a lot of Becca, which is funny because you can't even get that anymore. I saved blush for last because it's gonna be the hardest, and I'm dreading this one the most. And again, I'm sorting it into powder and then liquid and creams. I have 9 single blushes in my collection. This one's proving very difficult, so I'm gonna start by eliminating some blushes that I know aren't going to make the cut. I have this Vive Single and Cherub. This is just too pigmented and warm for me to have this as my everyday blush. So even though it's beautiful, it's not gonna be my top #1. Same with the Bare Minerals Bronzer in Kiss of Pink. This is a really beautiful formula as well, but it's not an everyday shade for me. The same can be said for PYT Beauty's Exhale. This is a really light, cool-toned pink. And same for Magic Hour from M Cosmetics. Again, these are all really beautiful blushes. They're just not ones that I could see making work every single day. I think I'm gonna need something more neutral. And again, because I'm probably gonna wanna go for something more neutral, the LH Cosmetics Duo in the shade Area is also out because this is definitely more cool toned, even though this is gorgeous. And these have a little bit of a sheen to them, and I've been really into sheeny blushes lately. The blushes I have left are this Cheek to Chic Swish and Pop blusher in Ecstasy from Charlotte Tilbury. This is a gorgeous, beautiful blush. I'm wearing it today on my cheeks, but it is a very light blush. It doesn't build very easily. And sometimes I like a more blushed look. So I'm gonna keep it in the running for now, but that might be the reason why I pass on it later on. ColourPop in the shade Flirt Alert. This is such a beautiful, like, I love the heart-shaped packaging. I love the color. I love the formula. It's a beautiful matte shade. Can this be my everyday blush though? This one from Buxom in Seychelles. This is a gorgeous, beautiful blush. I wear this all the time. Sometimes though, it can be a little bit too much. So I'm gonna push this one out. And then of course, I feel like I don't ever shut up about this blush. It's a $5 blush that has been discontinued for years now, and I still can't get rid of it. And I'm still looking for a dupe for it. This is Makeup Revolution Beloved. It's just such a gorgeous, special, beautiful, springy blush. But can this be my everyday blush? So these are the three blushes I have. Yes, the Charlotte Tilbury and the Flirt Alert blush from ColourPop, those are probably more reasonable choices. But I really do feel like I would be left wanting if I didn't have Makeup Revolution. I feel like I would really miss it, and I would think about it. I would be like, oh, this look could really use some Beloved, because sometimes I just add a little bit of this on top of whatever I have on. Yeah, I'm gonna keep Beloved. I have Mini Skirt from Victoria Beckham. I have a mini Rare Beauty blush in the shade Wisdom. That's definitely in the top running. I love this blush so much. I have quite a few Charlotte Tilbury wands, so these are more glowy. Pillow Talk, Pinkgasm, and Pinkgasm Sunset, and then this matte wand in Pillow Talk as well. And these are all really, really stunning, but I do have the Spotlight wand from Charlotte Tilbury, and so if I wanted to make my liquid blush glowy, I could mix that. So I can take all of these out of the running, even though I would miss them. I have two cream blushes from Milk. These are okay, but definitely not gonna be in my top spot. And the other three cream blushes I have are this one from Merit in Beverly Hills, M Cosmetics Rose Milk, and Pink Sky from Tarte. Those three and the Rare blush in Wisdom are my top favorite cream blushes. I love them all. They're slightly different formulas, slightly different shades, so I wear them for different reasons. And since I am going for a more bright, unique blush powder shade, I probably want to keep it relatively neutral with the cream blush. So I won't choose Rose Milk. This is definitely more of like a warmer peachy blush as well. And then these three shades are relatively similar. I do like how buildable and natural the Beverly Hills shade from Merit Beauty is. I just feel like that would be a really great everyday blush shade. But I really like how long lasting the Tarte shade is. And this is a really beautiful shade too, especially for everyday. But I can't shut up about Wisdom from Rare Beauty. I'm heartbroken that this isn't a full-size regular shade. This was part of a little set that I bought over the holidays, and I don't think that they sell a full size of this. I think it was just in that set. I just love this so much. It elevates every look. It's so pigmented, so I only need the teeniest tiny bit, and it just does something to give me so much life. And it also mixes well with Spotlight because it's also a liquid, so I think I'm going to choose the Rare Beauty one. Next up is powders, and I am going to break this up into a couple of different categories. I have one powder foundation that's from Fenty Beauty in the shade 130. This is slightly too yellow for me. Oh, I didn't realize it had a little puff at the bottom. That's nice. Oh, it has a puff and a mirror on the bottom. Wow, I didn't realize that. That's cool. Yeah, so this isn't like an exact perfect match for me, but it is a really beautiful foundation, and it is a more tightly pressed formula, so you don't really pick up a lot. It's a really nice, just easy thing to put on with a fluffy brush. And it's the only powder foundation I have, so I will be keeping it. And then I have two blotting papers. I just feel like it's worth mentioning because I don't really talk about these much, but I do really love them. I think I have another one from e.l.f. that they might not even sell anymore, and that one's good too. I have these ones from NYX, and then I have the Winky Lux Matcha blotting sheets, and I love the Winky Lux ones so much. I mean, a blotting paper is a blotting paper, and you know, if this isn't available in the store, I will pick up the NYX one again. But if I had to choose which one was my favorite, it's definitely the Winky Lux ones. They smell nice. They are so good at soaking up oil. And often I don't touch up with a powder halfway through the day. I use a blotting paper. If I want to add a little bit of powder after that, I will, but typically a blotting paper is more than enough. And it just feels better on my skin because I'm actively removing the oil instead of just putting more powder on top to soak up the oil. So Winky Lux blotting papers are staying. And then I have these two under eye setting powders. These are different from powders that I would use to set my face. So for the sake of this exercise, I'm counting them as different than my face powders. I have the Besame Violet and the Pat McGrath Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder in Light. I love the Besame one. I've been using it for years and years. I've gone through so many of these. I even remember when they sold this as a loose powder version, and I liked that too. This is a refillable compact, so I bought the outside compact, and then I can buy these pans once I finish the powder. And I really like the Pat McGrath one too, but I just like the Besame one a little bit better. I like the formula a little better. I like the color. So I would keep the Besame over the Pat McGrath. Then for face powders, I have three. The Haus Labs Bio Blurring Loose Setting Powder in Translucent, the RCMA No Color Powder, and then the number 7 Translucent Perfect Light Pressed Powder. The Haus Labs one is out. It's just okay. I'm not super impressed with it. I've gone through an entire tub of the RCMA powder. I love it. In a pinch, I can also use it to set my under eyes. And so if I had to just choose one powder to use for everything, then I could use the RCMA one for everything. But I've been using the number 7 one, to set my foundation lately, and I actually really like it. Normally I prefer loose powders to set my face, but I've been really liking this one. And I hate the packaging for the RCMA. Yeah, I think I'm gonna choose the number 7 over the RCMA, if you can believe. And I forgot to do face palettes, so I'm gonna talk about those really quick. I have 2 face palettes from Charlotte Tilbury and one from Smashbox. The Smashbox one is the pink saturation version, and then I have Nudegasm and Lightgasm. So all 3 of these have at least one blush, bronzer, and highlighter, just with slightly different undertones and formulas. I will say I was very impressed with this Smashbox one, and I do like that the blushes have very different undertones. For me, this works great because there's one more peach neutral shade and then a warmer purple pink shade. And then this bronzer is like just okay, but I don't like when bronzers are in such small pans like that, because how am I supposed to get a bronzer brush in there? But then this highlighter is stunning. It's a beautiful but very, very intense gold pink color, and it's beautiful. So I like that the undertones are different enough in this, and this also does feel a little bit more compact than the Charlotte Tilbury ones. I did do a video where I compared the 2 Glowgasm palettes and the Nudegasm palette from Charlotte Tilbury, and I compared it with some other Charlotte Tilbury cheek products that I had, so if you'd like to see more in-depth comparisons and reviews, I will have that video linked or in the cards. But I will say, after having used this palette, the Lightgasm one, this was so hyped up. I remember watching people pan this and watching people wear this very often, and they loved it, and I wanted this blush shade so bad because it looks like it's got like a purpley pink undertone and then a gold shift, and it just doesn't translate like that on my cheeks. It doesn't look the way that I want it to look on my cheeks, and that was like the main reason why I purchased this. And these are not cheap. These are like $75, so I spent a lot of money for the one shade that I was excited about to not look exactly like that on my cheeks. I wonder if there's something maybe I can wear underneath it to help me get that finish. And the Nudegasm has a leg up because I've had this for years. If you can see, the shades in the Nudegasm definitely have a lot more wear, and a lot of the embossing or the design on top has been worn away, versus this is a much newer palette that I haven't worn as much. I also think that these 4 shades go so nicely together, and so this one definitely has a leg up over the other 2 because I've had it longer and I know that I can wear it a lot. But the Smashbox one is really nice. I do like how compact it is. I do like that the shades are just different enough, but I don't like how small the pan is for the bronzer. It makes it really difficult to use. But there's only one blush in the Nudegasm, and it's more of a peachy blush, which I don't go for that often. But I do have a powder and a liquid blush that I'm also keeping in this exercise, and those have different undertones than this. So this one might actually even out my blush collection very nicely because it's so different from the other two blushes I'm keeping. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna keep Nudegasm. The next category is concealers and color correctors. I'm going to break this into 4 different categories. I have a white concealer and a white foundation that I use to lighten various products like foundations and cream blushes. So I'm going to keep that separate because it doesn't really make sense to compare that to an under eye concealer. I also have regular peachy pink color correctors for under my eyes. I have regular concealers, and then I have green color correctors that I use specifically to neutralize the foundations in my collection. Those 4 categories are different enough that I would definitely be missing a lot of really important products that I use every day if I only chose one across all 4 categories. So I am going to split them up for the sake of this exercise, and I will start with the white color correctors. They're both from LA Girl, just one of them is their concealer and the other one is their foundation. The concealer is not as pigmented as the foundation, but it is creamier, and I find myself reaching for this a lot more just because it's easier to use. I have a lot more control over how much product I take out each time versus having to be very careful with the pump so that I don't get a full pump of white foundation, which I rarely need that much product. I only use so little in order to adjust the foundation that I'm trying to lighten, or sometimes I'll add it to a blush just to lighten up the blush and make it a little bit more bright. So the concealer's staying. For under eye color correctors, I have 5. 3 of them are in pots: the Makeup Revolution, the Pixie, the Becca, and then technically the Charlotte Tilbury one is also in a pot. And then I have 1 liquid concealer type color corrector from Exa Beauty. But if I had to choose between these 5, I would say the Charlotte Tilbury one is my favorite out of the 5 that I have left. So this one's staying. Although the Exa Beauty one is up there. This is a really beautiful formula. It's thinner, and so I just think it can be a lot more forgiving under the eyes. But still, the Charlotte Tilbury one wins. Now for green color correctors, I'm working on doing a bunch of research and reviewing these products so that I can do a best and worst green color corrector video. And I'm really glad I was able to try them all out at the same time because it showed me that there are a lot of different types of greens out there. So they're not all like the exact same shade of green. Some are warmer, some are more blue based. I'm really having fun playing around with these because I use these to help neutralize a lot of the foundations that I have, and also having a tiny bit more green in my foundations helps to neutralize a lot of the redness in my face that isn't as apparent in the rest of my body. So my face often looks darker than the rest of my body for that reason. So green color correctors have just completely changed the game for me makeup wise. I feel like my foundation has never matched the rest of my body better than it does now. That being said, I have 8 green color correctors right now to talk about, and they're all so wonderful, but just in their own ways. And I'll be able to explain that more in detail when that best and worst video comes up. I have a stick formula from NYX, the Exa Beauty green color corrector. This is the first one that I tried, and it kind of made me fall in love with green color correctors. I have this one from Face Atelier. This is a really liquidy green color corrector, and it's got the, I would say, the lowest amount of pigment. This one from LA Girl is the same as the white concealer that I kept. I really like that formula, so I'm glad that they have a green version. And then I have other various green color correctors from e.l.f., Kimchi Beauty, Tarte, and Ulta Beauty. The Exa one is a tried and true favorite. I really do like that one. I like it has a slightly grayer undertone. I think Hannah Louise Poston loves this because she has more of a desaturated skin tone, and this works really well to help neutralize and match her really well. But for me, I would probably keep the Ulta Beauty one. The reason why is because this is slightly more minty. It has more blue in it. And a big problem I have with even my neutral foundations is they do pull very yellow or are slightly too dark, and I find that using a little bit of this blue-based green helps to neutralize it. And I don't want to say it lightens the foundation, but just something in it works really well with the color of the foundation that I'm mixing with to really help it match me very well. And it's also incredibly pigmented, so you only need the tiniest little bit, and so it doesn't affect the finish or the formula of the foundation that I'm working with. Whereas some of the other ones, maybe I have to use more, and as a result, it affects the formula a little bit more. So even though I would love to keep more of the green color correctors, if I just had to choose one, I would keep the Ulta one. This video is going to be so long. I hope that's okay. Now, for foundations, I don't normally have a lot. I have more in my collection than I have in a long time. I did receive one from Bare Minerals in PR, and then I recently purchased the About Face foundation and the Smashbox Always On foundation. And then last summer I purchased this Fenty Eavesdrops foundation, and then these two I've had for a really long time. The Airbrush Flawless foundation from Charlotte Tilbury. I feel like I'm losing my voice a little bit because I've been talking for so long. And then the Kojendo Aqua foundation in the shade 213. The Fenty one is out just because this shade doesn't work very well for me. I'm in the shade 6. It's a little too deep for me, and the undertone is really cool, and so it just kind of looks odd on me. So even though I like that it is more liquidy and natural looking on the skin, that shade is just really hard for me to work with. And the Bare Minerals Bare Pro one is a much better shade match for me. I have Fair 10 Neutral. This is incredibly full coverage, and it definitely looks like you're wearing makeup, which is not a problem, and I like mixing this with other foundations to give them more coverage, but just keeping it on its own, I don't think that this would work for me. I really like the Smashbox Always On foundation, but it is very similar to the Bare Minerals one in that it's incredibly pigmented, and so I wouldn't keep it for the same reasons. And also the shade is just slightly too olive. Like this is the shade F10 or F10O, and this is an olive light foundation, but it's just almost too yellow green for me. That leaves me with these three: the About Face, the Charlotte Tilbury, and the Aqua foundation. The About Face and the Kojendo are definitely more natural coverage foundations, but for me they're not incredibly long lasting as a result. The About Face one is such a good color match for me, and I do like that it is a lighter coverage foundation. I can build it a little bit, and then I could use my concealer to spot conceal certain parts of my face if I wanted, but this is not a very long lasting foundation for me, especially because I get really oily. So that makes me think that maybe I wouldn't keep this one. And the Kojendo one I think is very similar. I don't think they're the same formula by any means, but I think they perform the same on my skin. I love how this looks on the skin, just like the About Face one, but the shade is just slightly too dark for me, even though the undertone works really nicely. And the Airbrush Flawless foundation from Charlotte Tilbury, this is one of my favorite foundations ever. I wore this on my wedding day. I'm wearing a little bit of this on my face today, mixed with the About Face foundation. And I have the shade 2 Neutral. This is a little bit too yellow for me on its own, but the match is pretty close to my natural skin tone, and I can put a little bit of this mint corrector in to neutralize it and match me really well. And I do like that it is fuller coverage and it does stay very well. This has great staying power. I could easily sheer it out by wearing like a thicker face cream underneath and then using a sponge to like very gently blend it into certain parts of my face. And it does a really good job at covering the redness in my skin, and it just looks really nice on the skin. So even though I would want to find ways to sheer it out and I would have to apply just a little bit at a time and build it slowly, I still would rather that than something that I know isn't going to last me all day. These mixed together are really great, but if I can only keep one, I'm definitely going to keep the Charlotte Tilbury. And I accidentally skipped over concealers, so let's go back to those really quick. I do have quite a few concealers in my collection right now. So really quickly, I have a Milk Makeup Concealer, an Ulta Beauty Full Coverage Liquid Concealer, a Smashbox Halo Healthy Glow 4-in-1 Perfecting Pen, a Natasha Denona High Glam Concealer, an e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer, a NYX Bear With Me Concealer Serum, a Makeup Revolution Eye Bright Concealer, a Make Beauty Skin Mimetic Concealer, and my Vive Modern Radiance Concealer. So I have a few that I know I can eliminate immediately. The Milk Makeup one is really nice, but it's slightly too light for me. And then the one from Smashbox is slightly too deep. This one from Ulta I don't think I've actually used yet, so I don't know for certain whether I like the formula or not. And then the Makeup Revolution and the Make Beauty ones are more light coverage. They're much more liquidy, serum-y, and I would like to have a higher coverage concealer, especially to go with my higher coverage foundation that I chose. The e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer one is just okay to me. It's a nice everyday concealer, but I have other ones left that I like better. And the NYX Bear With Me one is just okay. It's a little bit harder to use because it's a pump, and I feel like I always pump out too much. So that leaves me with the Natasha Denona High Glam Concealer and the Vive Concealer. I have really been liking the Natasha Denona one. I understand why people love it so much. It does have really, really great coverage. It's a little bit thinner, but if you saw my full face of Vive video, this was my favorite product that I tried from the entire brand. This is amazing. I'm not going to go into it all over again, but I tell you exactly why in that Vive video, why I love it so much. I show you a demo, and so this is definitely my top pick. All right, I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, so I'm going to try to speed up the last portion of this video. The next category is primers, and I'm very surprised to see how many primers I have right now. I have 12 primers. I don't know how that happened. I have 5 primers from Smashbox, a mini of the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter, a mini of the Vive Skin Dew Multitasker, the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer, 2 mini NYX primers, the Marshmallow Primer and the Plump Right Back, the Charlotte Tilbury Wonder Glow, and then this one from Jason Wu. This is the Multitasker, and I haven't actually used this one yet, so I'm not going to choose this because I don't know if I like it or not. So I have a few different types of primer. Most of them are glowy, and then the rest of them are more like mattifying, or they have a very specific use, like the green primer that I have. The green one is the Photo Finish Correct Anti-Redness Primer. In theory, this would be really good for me to have. I've only used it a couple of times, and since I am keeping a green color corrector, I don't feel like I need to keep a primer like that. And like I said before, I am more oily. If I could only keep one primer, I'm probably not going to keep a glowy one. I would probably keep an oil control one. So that means I can eliminate quite a few primers right now. The Vive Skin Dew and the Flawless Filter from Charlotte Tilbury would be too glowy for me to warrant keeping. And even though I do love the Wonder Glow from Charlotte Tilbury, this is also more of a glowy primer, so this one's out too. I mentioned in my full face of Milk Makeup that the Hydro Grip Primer is a little bit fussy for me, so with it being that finicky, I probably wouldn't keep this. These 2 from NYX, these minis, I haven't tried them yet, and so I don't know if I like them. And then these 2 from Smashbox, the Illuminate. This one has a glowy gold tone to it, and then the Primerizer is a more moisturizing primer. The only other 2 primers that I have left are both oil control primers. They're both from Smashbox, the Photo Finish Control Mattifying Primer and the original Photo Finish Smooth and Blur. I have talked before about how much I love the control primer. I like how it feels on the skin. I like how it dries down. I really like this primer. This is definitely the one that I would be keeping. I have one more face category, and then we can move on to lips. And the last face product is setting sprays. I have 5 of them currently. This one from Milk Makeup I do like, but it's not my favorite. This one from Jason Wu I haven't tried yet, so I don't know if it's my favorite. And then the last 3 that I have are really, really solid favorite setting sprays that I adore. The Urban Decay All Nighter, and then I have 2 of the Charlotte Tilbury setting sprays. One is just the regular one, and then one is made with white tea of Bali. I've only used the white tea one a few times, and I think it's good, but I would probably just keep my standard one that I know I really love. So it comes down to the Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray or the All Nighter. I love both of these for very different reasons. The Charlotte Tilbury one gives me a glow, but it does set my makeup down. And in fact, if you apply too much of it, it can make your face feel a little tight. I like the scent. I like the way it makes my skin look. It does give me a glow though, and my face already gets glowy on its own. The All Nighter one, I've gone through so many bottles of this, but I only really use it on special occasions. I don't use it on a daily basis. I think I would keep the All Nighter. It still sets down my makeup, it still helps it last longer, and it just doesn't make me as glowy as the Charlotte Tilbury one. So this one wins. And I forgot, I do have this one from LH Cosmetics as well. This is the Onset Long Lasting Setting Spray. I like this one too, but I don't like it better than the All Nighter. Okay, lip pencils. I have been playing around with a few other formulas lately, but I have always loved the Slim Lip Pencil formula from NYX. The shade Mauve is still hands down my favorite color and shade. It's just perfect. I love it so much. And so even though I do really enjoy the other ones that I have, if I only had to choose, Mauve would definitely be the winner. I have so many beautiful lipsticks, it would be really hard for me to just choose one, but really the one that I reach for all the time and really, really love is the LH Cosmetics Fantastic. This is in the shade Pink Opal. It's just a beautiful natural lipstick, and it has an SPF in it, so it's ticking off all the boxes, and it goes really well with that mauve lip liner from NYX. I would really miss not having more colors to choose from. Sometimes I like to go deeper, sometimes I like to go more plum, more brown, more bright. So I would really feel like I was missing out if I only had one lipstick, but if I had to choose, this would be the one that I kept. For lip glosses, I do have 10 different lip glosses to choose from. I don't have my Jason Wu gloss. I don't know where it is. I think it's probably in like a pocket or something. I probably wouldn't choose this Vive lip oil gloss, even though I love it. That color is so specific that I probably wouldn't wear it every day. And then this Victoria Beckham gloss, I don't like. It smells so bad, and it's always smelled like that, and it tastes bad too. I don't enjoy it, so definitely wouldn't keep that as my main gloss. This one from Make Beauty, the Serum Balm. This is a really nice balmy gloss, but not one that I would keep if I had to get rid of all the others. This Jason Wu Soft Balm is more like a lip oil, and I definitely prefer a gloss over an oil consistency, so this one would not stay. The one from Milk, I really love this. This is one of my favorite Milk products that I tried, but again, this color is so specific, it would be hard to wear this on a regular basis, so this one wouldn't stay for that reason. I love this NYX Fat Oil in the shade That's Chic. It's actually what I'm wearing on my lips today. I really like this. This is staying in the running. I don't like the Muse Gloss from Lisa Eldridge more than the NYX, so this one can go, unfortunately. And then I have Summer Fridays and the Lawless Lip Gloss in the shade Cherry Vanilla. I really like both of these formulas, but just for different reasons. Out of all three of these, I would probably choose the NYX. I reach for this all the time. I love that color so much. Yeah, I would keep this one. Now for liquid lipsticks, I only have two. The shade Palermo I use as a cream blush, and Bachi I also use as a cream blush, but I could also use it on the lips, and this is a favorite. I've gone through multiple tubes of this, so if I had to choose between the two, I would keep Bachi. Now for tinted lip balms, I have four. One of them is from Jason Wu. It's the Goodnight Mr. Wu Mask. I have the Lawless Cherry Vanilla Forget the Filler Overnight Lip Plumping Mask, the Sigma All Heart Lip Mask, and then this It Cosmetics Je ne sais quoi. These are so good, all of them, just for different reasons. I really like all four of these. I reach for all of these very regularly, but if I really had to choose one, I would probably go with Je ne sais quoi from It Cosmetics. It's just such a beautiful formula. It's clear and then it turns a little bit pink on your lips. Not a lot though, like it's very sheer. And it just feels so velvety and plush on the lips, and I think it's a lot easier to have this in my pocket or in my backpack than to have like a big tub of something. And I like the packaging. It's so versatile. I can wear it on top of a lip liner or just on its own. I really like it. So this one was really tough, but definitely the It Cosmetics one wins. So these are all of the products that made the cut. It's still quite a bit of makeup. Upon first glance, some of these products I know for sure I would have chosen, like the Vive Concealer. I know that's my favorite, but some of these other ones were surprising once I actually figured out like the practicality of what to choose, especially pairing it with other products that I know I'm keeping in other categories. Not all of these were immediately apparent that I would keep. It's interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see what my answers were in past If I Could Only Keep One videos, because I have done them several years ago. And you know what? If I remember correctly, I think the It Cosmetics Je ne sais quoi was also one of the products that I kept last time. So that's so interesting that even after all these years, this is still a favorite. That was really fun to do. I would love to know what your answers are, even if you don't want to pick from every category. If there's just one product that you know is like your top favorite and you could get rid of everything else in that category and be fine. I cannot believe that I'm losing my voice. I did film a lot today, but that's never happened before. But that's everything I have. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this was a fun and valuable exercise to watch. I hope it gave you some motivation to figure out what products you would choose if you were doing this exercise. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video.